Hey everyone, I'm Michael. I'm going to be your host for this morning's session. This is a VAT Return Part 2. So we're looking at that tab 3 of the VAT Return wizard. So looking at how you go about completing those 3 tasks. So hopefully you did have a chance to attend Part 1. If you haven't, then the recordings are available from our recordings page, and a link will be included on your follow-up email. Just before we get stuck into this morning's webinar though, I'll quickly run you through a little bit of housekeeping just in case anyone is fairly new to webinars. You don't need a microphone for these sessions. If you do have one, it will be muted automatically. You can't unmute yourself. So that does mean if you have any questions for myself or for Matt, who will be in the background supporting you today, then you'll need to click on the little speech bubble icon. So give it a click, it'll expand the panel, and then you'll be able to type in your questions, excuse me, and your comments in the bottom box. Excuse me. There is an opportunity to download today's handout as well. So if you do want a copy of those, do take the opportunity to get them during the session. Now, a link to today's recording that will be sent on the follow-up email. You receive that round about an hour after we finish. Excuse me, just choking there. So you'll receive that email around about an hour after we finish, and that will include the link to the recording, a link to our registration page, and also to our recordings page. So do watch out for that one. This is the last session of 2025, and we'll be back, I think it's the second week of January when we start presenting again. So do have a look at that and get yourself registered for any sessions that may be of interest. This is what we're going to be covering in part 2 today though. So quick introduction. I'm going to give you a quick reminder about version 33. I'll pop that poll on your screen in a moment as well that we ran yesterday, just to see if the demographics are a little bit different. Obviously, we're going to run through a demonstration looking at the 3 key tasks on tab 3 of the VAT return. And then just at the end, we'll explain more about the additional support. And if there are any outstanding questions for myself or Matt, we'll try and pick those up as best we can. But keep Matt busy, keep your questions and your comments coming throughout. We'll try our best to pick as many of those up as we can. Right, so just going to quickly pop a poll on your screen if I can find the right button this morning. So again, it's the same one from yesterday. I just want to see if there's any change to that one. So which return are you submitting? Do you do a UK return, an Irish return, or do you actually do both? So if you don't mind, choose an option. Remember to submit it. And then it's just to give me a quick, almost like a validation check, almost, just so we can see who's here today. Excellent. Okay, so loads of you have voted there. Again, I haven't got anyone that is submitting both types of return. We normally get the odd one or two which do submit both. So we've got a nice split today. So about 79% of you have gone for a UK return and 21% of you doing the Irish return. We're going to follow the same sort of format as yesterday in session 1, where I will distinguish between the UK return and Irish return. So you can see the differences along the way. Now there is really only one difference today, and that's when it comes to actually doing the submission itself. Just as a reminder, and also for the purpose of the demo, I just want to remind you of this, just in case anyone watches the recording and they submit both returns. In version 33, which is now available, I've included a link so you can find out more, and also so you can download and install that as well if you are interested. So mainly for, I suppose, for those of you based in Ireland, some new tax codes have been added in version 33. A couple of those, so you'll find out more information via that link as well. But also the key there is that if you submit a return in Ireland and in the UK, then in version 33, it now looks at your country that's attached to your address within Sage, rather than looking at your regional settings in Windows. So it will give you the correct currency and VAT settings accordingly. In the past, it's been a case of changing those before you went into the relevant company, or possibly, which is quite common as well, running the different returns from different PCs. So one set with Irish regional settings, the other with UK regional settings. So should make it a lot easier if you are doing both. Right, now just as a bit of a recap, this is where we were up to. We'd reconciled the VAT return, so we'd completed steps 1 and 2 of the VAT return wizard, and we're at the point where we're all reconciled. It's saved the VAT return itself, and we're on step 3. So you've got these 3 key tasks down the side. Now, the first one we're going to deal with, obviously the first one on the list there, and it's the VAT transfer. So what is VAT transfer? What's the point of doing that? Well, basically what it will do is, the idea is, once you've reconciled your VAT, the idea is you will transfer the reconciled VAT element out of your sales tax control account and out of your purchase tax control account across to your VAT liability. And the difference in those values will be what your liability is. And that will show against your VAT liability nominal code. So it's what you should then be left with is the VAT that you haven't yet declared against both your sales tax control and your purchase tax control account. And obviously when it comes to make the payment, you'll be paying off that balance against the VAT liability, assuming you're paying that in full. So that's the idea and the principle of doing the VAT transfer, whether you do it manually option within the VAT return itself. Now, common question, what if I've never done this before? Now, all it will mean is that your sales tax control and your purchase tax control account and your VAT liability, for that matter, they'll probably have accumulated large values. So if you've not been doing the VAT transfer, as you've been paying your VAT liability to HMRC or to the revenue, when you've recorded that, you would have just been making payments to the VAT liability nominal code. There would have been no balance or no liability sat there to essentially pay off and reduce back to zero. So probably if you've never done these journals before, it's just going to have accumulated that value. Now to correct it, it would normally be a case of trying to work out what the values should be at the moment, the VAT that you haven't yet accounted for, and probably just doing a big journal to sort of correct that. If you need a little bit of help with that, do get in touch with our support team or maybe speak to your accountant. Now, when the VAT transfer happens, so what values would you normally transfer? If you're UK based, you're going to transfer the balances from box 1 and box 4. So box 1, you're going to journal that essentially from your sales tax control account across to the VAT liability, and similar, the figure in box 4, you're going to journal that across from your purchase tax control account to your VAT liability. And what you should be left with on that VAT liability is either what you owe liability-wise or what you can recover. And it's similar if you're based in Ireland as well. A bit more complex, a bit more text on there as well to try and explain that in a bit more detail. Remember, you can download a copy of the slides if you'd like to. Now, you can do a manual journal. Manual journal is straightforward enough, but again, why do a manual journal when you don't have to? So I've got the details of what a journal would probably look like. Obviously, the values will obviously be different. You would use T9 tax codes for all of that. You don't want those journals to be picked up on your next VAT return. The only thing you really need to make sure, ideally, is that you change the date to the end of your VAT period. And that's the date that will be picked up automatically if you do it via the VAT transfer option within the VAT return itself. So that's doing it manually. You would just go into nominal codes, journal entry, and enter your details. You can do it as a 3-line journal, or a 4-line if you want to mention. The 4 lines make it a bit easier to understand. So you're transferring the VAT from sales across to VAT liability, and then the VAT element from your purchases to the VAT liability. Now, the beauty of the VAT transfer option within the VAT return itself is that it's automatic. It's essentially one click. It will use the correct date, the correct values. You will click the button, Post Journal, and it will do that for you. Couldn't be easier. And it flags that VAT return to see, right, well, I've done this. And then the option will be grayed out. So let's just have a quick look at that in the software. I'll switch across to my screen. We'll go into the VAT ledger. So this is the VAT return that we generated yesterday in the demo. So the one that ran up to the end of March 2024 on this old set of data that I'm using. So if I just double click on it to get into it, you'll see we're on tab 3. It picks up the right date for you. You can't change that if for whatever reason you want to do that, but it will pick up the end of the VAT period that you're running up to. I'd recommend that you just leave it to that. And you can see it's picked up the relevant values as well. And all I need to do at this point is literally click Post Journal. So I'll give that a click, ticks it to see it's been transferred. You can see these options are now grayed out. And if I just close out of that VAT return, you can see in the VAT transferred column, we've now got a Y indicating that we've done it via that automatic option within the VAT return itself. Now, you may be in a position where you've got some that have an N, some of the older VAT returns. Now, what happens if you're in that position? So do I go into the VAT return and then do I click Post Journal or do I not? Well, you're going to need to decide and find out. Have you done it manually in the past? Have you posted a manual journal? Maybe you've done that for some and not others. Maybe you've done it for none of them. Maybe you've done it for all of them. But the way that you're going to tell is probably by going into your nominal codes, finding your VAT liability nominal code, and then having a look at the activity. Can you see anything where you've been posting these journals? So that's where you would find that type of information out. So again, just going back to the slides very quickly, I'll pick up on some of those common questions. And again, more information, probably different types of questions surrounding the same thing. So what if you've never done it before? You're going to need to check. It's not just a case of opening up each VAT return and clicking Post Journal. You may have done it manually, you may not have, you may have done it for some, but not others. Again, linking into that second question there, how do I know? Check the VAT liability activity. It links in with that third question as well. Now you might be thinking, well, they're all the same questions. Yeah, we'll probably get another 20 different variants of that to our support line asking exactly the same thing. Now, if you have done it manually and your VAT returns do have an N in that column, in the VAT transfer column, indicating that it hasn't been done automatically within the VAT return wizard, not to worry. If you've done it manually, that's fine. You don't need to do anything. You don't need to get hung up on that. What if it's in a previous financial year? Well, again, that's for you to decide. Do you want to sort of backdate that journal if you do need to do it, or do you just want to post that adjustment into the current financial year? Obviously, if you backdate it to a previous financial year, with that year being closed, it'll just prompt you saying, right, you're doing this prior to the start of your current financial year. Are you sure you wish to do this? Right, let's move on. Next, we're going to move on to the submission, which is task 2. So actually submitting your VAT return. Now, this is where it differs. It's a different process if you're UK-based to being based in Ireland. So let's deal with the UK first. Now, I've got a little video of this one that I'm going to share with you in a moment. But in the UK, your VAT return it must be submitted digitally under Making Tax Digital. Making Tax Digital has been around for a good few years now. And obviously it can be done direct to HMRC from your software. Now, I'd expect everyone who's VAT registered probably to have this setting ticked. So the enable Making Tax Digital for VAT submissions, that needs to be ticked within your software. You'll find it within Settings, Company Preferences. I'll show you that one in just a moment as well. So you must have your VAT registration number entered, and also MTD must be enabled. You're probably only not going to be in that position if you've literally just registered for VAT. You may not have that option ticked. Now, I've mentioned there as well about a group submission. I don't come across many of our customers that do a group VAT submission. And that would just be where you sort of, as far as HMRC is concerned, you're one VAT entity. So you've got one VAT registration number, but actually you've got a couple of different companies set up in Sage for that. To be able to generate your VAT returns, you would generate them in the normal way, but when it comes to submission, you need to use the additional module. So I've included a link to it for doing your group VAT submission. So you would generate your VAT returns as normal in the individual companies, and then you would switch to the MTD module to essentially say, right, I want to pull through the VAT return from that company, that one and that one. It would merge the figures, and then you make your submission from that MTD module. But again, if you click that link, if you've downloaded the handout, it'll take you to the point, the area where you can download that module. And obviously that will be included as part of your subscription. So it's all done online. It's a little wizard. I'm going to quickly show you those two settings just to confirm where you do find them. So you would go to Settings, Company Preferences. So either going to ask you for your password, or if you do have any connected services and you've got a Sage account linked to your account, it'll ask you for the password that is associated with your email logon that you would enter when coming into Sage. So we're going on to the VAT tab. And first of all, you may need to make sure that your VAT registration number is entered in that top box. And then the other one is this one, enable Making Tax Digital for VAT submissions. If it's not ticked, so when you come in, it's like this, you tick it, and you'll just get this message saying you're choosing to submit your VAT return under Making Tax Digital for VAT regulations. Are you sure you want to do this? And you just click yes, and that's it done. Just okay that. Now, to actually make your submission itself, you'll go into your VAT return. And again, it's this second task here on step 3 of the VAT return wizard. Now, this is where I've got a little video that I'm going to play at this point, just so you can see what that submission process looks like. So I'll set that going and I'll come back to you live in just a couple of minutes. In this demonstration, we're going to show you the steps to submit your VAT return online. We join the demonstration where we're on step 3 of the VAT return, so it's already been reconciled, and we're ready to submit it online. So on the right hand side, we click Submit Online. The online submission wizard appears, and you click Next. Ensure that the correct company name and VAT registration number appears, and then click Next. An authority page appears, and if you scroll down to the bottom, you can then click Continue. You're then prompted to sign in with your Government Gateway user ID and password. Once entered, click Sign In. You then click Grant Authority. You'll then be prompted to choose your period, and it should default to the correct one. Just make sure this is correct, and then select the checkbox to say that you agree to the following HMRC declaration, and then click Submit to HMRC.
Once completed, a congratulations message appears indicating you successfully submitted your VAT return to HMRC. You click close. You then return to the VAT return, and as you can see, the VAT return is now flagged as being submitted.
Okay, so that was just a short video to show you what that submission would look like when you do it online via software to the government gateway, or the MTD gateway, I should call it these days. So nice and simple, just a case of clicking the button and then following that through. Now for Ireland, it's a little bit different. So the VAT return is still submitted. Currently, it's still submitted manually. And when you reconcile your VAT return, so step 2, you complete that, and it takes you on to step 3. The software was going to create an XML file. It's going to be created in your VAT returns folder, which you get that open folder option. And it'd just be a case of clicking that and just finding your XML file. And that's what you can upload to the revenue. So you'll be doing that manually. Once you've completed that task, all you would do is you would tick the little box to say mark as submitted. So again, quite a simple task, that one as well. Now, some of you, if you're fairly new to or maybe your business has used Sage for a long time, you may have loads of old VAT returns. So you might look at your list, and if I just bring up my list, so I'll go back to my screen. So you might have options like this, where in the status, you might have older returns that just say pending. Now, if those returns have been submitted, all you need to do is go into them. So go into each one in turn, just tick the box, mark as submitted. And it doesn't matter whether you're based in Ireland or you're doing a UK return. If you have submitted the VAT return for that period, just tick the box to mark it as submitted, and it will change that pending to submitted. It just changed that status. I hope that one makes sense as well. Right, let's go back to the slides. We're going to move on. And we're going to pick up on the third task in step 3 of the VAT return, which is to record a payment or a receipt, depending obviously what position you're in. Now this is very straightforward as well. So first of all, why are you going to post that payment or receipt? Well, obviously it represents the payments or the refund in your accounts that you've made to HMRC or the revenue. It's going to ensure your bank balance is accurate. You've recorded that transaction. And if your accounts are accurate, you'd expect this transaction to essentially zero down the VAT liability account balance. That's what you'd expect. It may not, because of maybe not having done journals in the past, etc., but that's what you'd expect it to be if everything is accurate and up to date. Now, your bank payment or receipt can be posted automatically or manually. Again, why post it manually when you've got an automatic option within the software? So the manual method, you just go into obviously your bank accounts module and then choose bank payment or bank receipt. You could post it as a journal if anyone is that way inclined, but again, it's not something we'd normally recommend. Much easier just to post a bank payment than it would be to do a 2-line journal. Now the details, you wouldn't actually use the actual date of the payment this time around, just so it agrees obviously with things like bank statements and things and is reflected in the right period. The nominal that you'd post it to would be your VAT liability nominal code. Your net would be the full value of the payment or the refund, and you would need to make sure that you use the T9 tax code, which is your non-VATable tax code. You don't want the details of that payment or the receipt to be picked up on a future VAT return. And then if you've done it manually, again, what you do is you'd open your VAT return, and there is a little tick box. I'll show you that one when we get onto doing it automatically in a moment. There is an option to just click mark as paid, and it would flag the VAT return to see you've completed that task. Now, that's the manual method. If you're doing it via the VAT return, it's even easier. You get this little box at the bottom to record payment or record refund, depending whether you have a liability or not. So you specify the bank account that the money's going to be paid out of or received into, the date of that transaction. If you do an online submission, it would normally tell you that, when that, particularly if you pay by direct debit, when that money would be taken from your account or paid into your account. Your reference would be your VAT registration number. Pull that through automatically for you. And your details will just say VAT payment. Now you can change all of this, but you don't need to. The amount, again, would be picked up automatically for you. So a couple of questions, or 3 questions I've got on there. Again, these are the questions that, again, we're likely to see. What if I haven't done this before? How do you know if I've done it before or not? What if I duplicate? What if I do it again and I duplicate it? So I've done it manually and I come in and I click post bank payment. So yeah, you've then duplicated that. So again, it's up to you to determine that. Have you done it manually in the past for maybe your old VAT returns? Have you done it this time round manually? Obviously, if you've done it automatically, these options are going to be grayed out and it's going to show that you have done that via this automated option. So let's quickly run through it. Again, show you what that looks like. So we're still in the VAT return. So it's this option here, no difference in this area between the UK and Ireland. It's going to look exactly the same. So bank accounts, obviously, you're just going to make sure it's going to set your default bank, which by default would be 1200. So make sure you've got that selected. The date will be blank so that you can't just accidentally click post payment. It's going to prompt you for that one. So you will need to pop the date in there. Obviously, when you click that little calendar icon, it's going to pick up today's date. But put whatever the appropriate date is. Your reference is your VAT registration number. Picks that up automatically. Make sure that's right. Details. Again, it will say VAT payments or VAT refund, depending on the outcome, and then the amount as well. And all I need to do is click post bank payment. Now, if I had done it manually, so I just gone into bank accounts and instead I did it manually that way, bank payment or bank receipt, I would just come in rather than click post bank payment. I would just come in and tick the box to say, right, I've done that now. But I'm going to click post bank payment. Now, obviously, I get a prompt saying date outside financial year just because it's an older set of data and I've gone beyond the end of the financial year on this set of data, but that's absolutely fine. Nothing to worry about there, as long as the date is correct. So just click yes to that and you'll see it grays out the options and it ticks the box. What it will also do by having that flagged as paid, if we go to the VAT list, you'll see that paid column now has a Y in there. If you've got any that say have an N, indicating that hasn't been done within the VAT return, just a case of going into that VAT return. And this one's been flagged manually in the past. So I would come in and I would just say, well, I've done that one, so I could just tick that box. And that will then change in the paid column from an N to a Y to say you've done that process. Now that's the 3 tasks complete at that point. The final bits, I'll just quickly mention this one just in case anyone's looking thinking, oh, there's a 4th option there, add attachments. Add attachments is it's something that you could do on step 2 of the VAT return wizard itself, where we mentioned about posting make adjustments. You can add other attachments as well at this point, or if you forgot to add them at the time, you can come in and you can say, right, I want to add that, link that spreadsheet to this VAT return. Those attachments do not currently get submitted to HMRC. They are there for your reference purposes only. I suppose it's a way of filing away that information. Just means in the future, if you needed to and you wanted to view them, you can come in and you can identify it on this list here. So you've got that attached to your VAT return essentially. But it doesn't really form part of these 3 tasks down the right-hand side. But that's how you complete your VAT return. If anyone has any questions, if you want to pop them in there, we'll try and pick them up as best we can. See if Matt's picked up a couple of those. Again, to submit your questions, you just need to click that little speech bubble icon. It should be on the toolbar on the right-hand side of your screen. Give it a click. Should expand the panel, and then you'll be able to start typing in your questions. Remember to click send as well. If anyone wants a copy of today's slides, then you can download those while you're on the session. They're not sent out afterwards. Now remember, there's loads of great supporting information available from our help centre. It is split between regions as well. Just head along to sage.co.uk/help. It'll then prompt you to choose your product, so Sage 50 accounts, and then there should be a little panel for VAT. I'll just quickly show you that one. Just quickly share my screen and bring up my browser. And we head along to sage.co.uk/help. It's going to take you to this page. You'll need to choose your mouse is a bit weird today. So choose your product. So Sage 50 accounts. It'll take you to this page. Obviously, you can search for answers relating to whatever it is you need support with. But then if you scroll down, and you should find in here, there's an option here for working with VAT, and you've got the options there depending on your region. So if we went into, let's say, Republic of Ireland, you're going to have the help and content relating to yourself. If anyone did want more information about version 33, if I just go right back to the starting point there, so when you first get into that, so you'll have an option there, install your software. So in here, you'll find loads of information. So what's new? It will include links so you can download and get that installed as well if you want to go down that route. But it's just nearly brand new out, that one. Not a great deal has changed. If you do want to see what the changes are, there is a webinar recording on our page now in the What's New section. Or get yourself signed up for a webinar that we'll be running throughout January. Right, a few questions starting to come through, so we'll try and pick some of those up in just a moment. But if I just pop back to my final slide, just in case anyone wants to leave, let me quickly thank you for attending. Hope you've enjoyed the webinars. If you've been attending throughout the year, hopefully you've enjoyed them. Come back for some more in 2026. If you're very new to them, obviously there's loads of topics there. Where have you been? We've been running them for many, many years now. So get yourself signed up for some of those sessions to help you get more from your software. Sometimes you'll attend them and you'll think, well, I knew all of that. Great. A little bit of reassurance for you that your understanding is correct. You might pick up some tips along the way. If you're new to it, you might think, well, actually, hopefully I feel a bit more confident now. So whatever situation, hopefully we'll see you in 2026. So do have a look at that. We've already got our January timetable on there. Get yourself registered for some of those sessions. If there's anything you'd like to see us cover in 2026, do let us know. Pop it on that survey that appears as you leave the session. Should take you about a minute max to complete that survey. If you can do that, always appreciated. Right, a couple of questions that we've got. Keith, asking for the digital badge. I think you asked for that yesterday. No digital badge for this one. So again, if you want to print that out and cut that out again, stick it on your jumper, in your Christmas jumper. I'm sure that'll look great. Abida, you mentioned there, can the payment to HMRC be made via the VAT return? It won't do it direct to the VAT return. The only time it's going to do that is if you use e-banking, and specifically if you use the e-payments option within Sage. So when you come to generate the VAT return, let me just go back to my screen. I'll take you back to that point. So if you use e-banking or e-payments. So e-payments is where when you're paying your suppliers, in this case, you're making a payment via or recording the details of a payment via your VAT return. What it can do is it can output the payment details and it'll build that up. And then what you'll do is within your bank accounts area, you go to the e-payments area and say, right, I now want to output a payments file. And as long as your internet banking software supports that, you'll be able to upload that payments file and essentially process your payments to your suppliers and to HMRC or the revenue. Now, the only option you've got for that is if you've enabled e-banking within Sage 50 accounts, when you come to record the value of the payment, you can tick this little box here. So pay via e-banking. So you fill in the details as normal, but you tick the box to say, right, essentially when you save that, so you'll have the button here, which would still be active. When you record that payment and post that into your account, it'll copy those payment details and pop in the e-payments area. So that it will then be included when you output your payments file and then upload that to your online banking, but it doesn't do it direct otherwise. I think majority will probably have direct debit agreements set up these days to make that payment. So again, if that's the case, when you make your submission, it will inform you when that payment will be taken. So you'll get that in your submission log file, which will be created as part of that submission process. I hope that makes sense. Right, I think that's the only question that we have outstanding at the moment. If I've missed your question, we'll have a look through and if there's anything that we haven't been able to answer, we'll just drop you an email later today. So we'll end the webinar just on that point. Many thanks for coming along today. Hope you are feeling a lot more confident with regard to your VAT return. Let us know, fill in the survey. Watch out for your follow-up email and do get yourself registered, and hopefully myself, Matt, Laura and Abby will see you in the new year. Many thanks.